Mike Moore Media.
It's our monthly visit with Seth Woodall, Seth M. Woodall Associates, his law firm on Fag Drive in Eden and East Murphy Street in Madison. And he's here in our studios today. Seth, welcome back.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. For those that don't know, you've been in practice here in Eden. How many years? How long has it been?
Since 2006, August 2006.
August 2006. So you've got an anniversary coming up soon for that months. Eden office. And 1 year here with that Madison office.
That's right, May of 2022.
Yeah. An opportunity to talk to Ben Tucker. He's been there a long time, helping out a neighbor and taking him to that office last week. And kind of a fixture in Western Rockingham County.
He is. He's been around a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to get together. We have a lot of things we want to talk about. Estate planning, certainly something that you do a lot of. So let's just start with that, Seth.
Sure. So we do a lot of estate planning here in Rockingham County and have multiple attorneys handling that. Myself in Eden, Mr. Walker, Jimmy Walker in Eden, Ben Tucker over in Madison, and Sam Viscuso does some in Madison as well.
Now, when we say estate planning, what does that entail?
Well, it could entail a number of things, but basically what you're trying to do is trying to set up yourself or your family or your loved ones. It doesn't have to be family, but your beneficiaries, whoever you want your property to go to, trying to set that up to make things easier and more economical on them in the end. And it also entails power of attorneys for legal matters and healthcare matters.
Why is that so important to have that done in advance?
Well, it's the only way that you're going to have certainty moving forward as to the disposition of your property. So if you don't do it in advance, things may not be carried out exactly the way that you want them to be.
Do we have a checklist, so to speak, of some things we definitely need to cover?
Well, I think anytime you're looking at estate planning, I think it's important to have a last will and testament for disposition of your property. I think it's important to have a healthcare power of attorney to nominate somebody to make healthcare decisions for you in the event that you're unable to do so, and a durable power of attorney for legal decision-making in the event that you can't do that. So those are the three main estate planning documents that I think everybody needs. And there's some more advanced documents such as trust, advanced trust. And it can get quite complicated, but I think a last will and testament, healthcare power of attorney, and durable power of attorney is a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. So certainly need to have all of those in place.
I think so, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. And as you said, you can expand from there, and you're looking at all kinds of ways that that money can be distributed, say in scholarships, and I'm thinking all kinds of different ways.
It can go directly to your family. It can go to friends. It can go to charitable organizations, churches. You basically control your own disposition of your property. So wherever you want your property to go, we can make it happen.
Now, sometimes we procrastinate on things like that.
It happens too often.
Yeah. And it's almost like when a young couple gets married, and if they put away this X amount of money, then when they're in their 20s, they have millions of dollars. I've seen those things, and when they retire. But when should we maybe start thinking about that?
I think it's never too early to start thinking about it. I think you should probably, especially if you're married, have children, certainly a good idea. So I don't think there's a time that's too early.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if someone listening and they think, I need to do that, what's the process?
Well, the easiest way for us to determine what is actually best for a client is to actually have a sit-down meeting where we sit down, go over kind of where they're at in life, what they want to see happen with their property, and then we make a decision based upon their specific circumstances to what will be best.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're looking at really a very personal one-on-one situation.
Typically, that's the way I like to do things. Mr. Walker likes to do it that way as well, Mr. Tucker and Mr. Viscuso. It lets us get a better idea of who the person is and what they want, and we try to carry out their wishes. Now,
can that be done, say, me as an individual or my wife, or do we need other family members involved?
No, just say you and your wife wanted to create an estate plan. The two of you could come sit down with us, and that's all it really takes.
And typically that takes how long?
Well, the initial meeting, could last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to get the upfront information, and then we have to prepare the documents. Normally takes a week or two. So, overall, I would say 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the complexity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. All right, well, that kind of covers a lot in a little bit of time there on estate planning. Anything else you need to mention?
No, I mean, if anybody needs any assistance or has any questions, make an appointment with either any of the attorneys at the Eden or Madison office. We'll be glad to help.
I thought maybe if we have some time here this morning, Seth, to maybe talk about, we just had a situation, the first swatting incident in Rockingham County last week, a new term to most of us, not to law enforcement nationally, because that seems to be a trend, unfortunately. Swatting, making a hoax fake phone call to 911, get emergency services out, could be a very serious situation there, putting a lot of people in harm's way. Where are we in maybe trends and changes and things like that is what I'm wondering. Well, what about this whole swatting thing? It just seems to be something new every so often.
Yeah, so we had a big incident last week with the Eden Police Department where there was a swatting incident. And, this has been going on throughout the nation for a number of years. Okay. And the more prevalent technology becomes, the easier it is for these individuals to make these hoax calls, and it creates basically chaos within small communities. So to my knowledge, this is one of the first and most significant situations of swatting that we've had in Rockingham County, which occurred last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And talking to the police chief, Clint Simpson here in Eden over the weekend, they have some leads. But, this is a difficult thing to trace probably, isn't it?
It is. And so, with the advancement of technology, there's some apps that you can download, and I'm not going to say their name because I don't think they deserve to be recognized, but you can go on these apps and basically create fake telephone numbers, make phone calls, and it just creates a spider web for law enforcement to try to track you down.
Yeah. Well, you can go online and make bombs, and you can do all kinds of things now.
Yeah, well, the world's full of evil.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, wow. Okay, so that's one thing that we're going to unfortunately see an increase of. I hope not, but
it is, and I think our legislature is going to have to do something as it becomes more prevalent in North Carolina. Anyways, some states have already made it a felony. I think California has some recent advancements in their legislation. Right now, to my knowledge, in North Carolina, the only legislations that we're dealing with on the swatting is it's a false police report to law enforcement, and that's how they're being treated, which unfortunately doesn't carry a lot of punishment.
No. And I was reading online over the weekend that seems like the maximum you can go to, and I was asking someone in the police department about this as well, what kind of restitution? You're looking at a lot of people, a lot of resources, and a lot of equipment and time, and thousands of dollars tied up there.
So I know I had communicated with some of the officers last week during the swatting incident we had here, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but it's my understanding we had a helicopter on standby because we believed that the mother had been shot and a sister had been stabbed, and we didn't know this. When I say we, law enforcement didn't know the extent of any injuries or potential if it was fatal. And so if we have helicopters sitting on standby, we have full resources of local law enforcement, fire department, rescue squad. There's no telling it the tens of thousands of dollars that were wasted simply based upon a stupid prank.
Yeah. And when there's a real emergency, those people are all tied up across town.
And that's the last thing you want. You don't want to be the person that you or your loved one needs assistance, and every single law enforcement, rescue, and fire personnel that we have on staff at that time is in one location.
Yeah. And this starts today, National Police Week, and it's remembering our fallen and people still in service and in law enforcement. And that memorial wall in Washington, D.C., I think they're adding like 500 and some names we've lost in the line of duty. It's a hard job. It
is a hard job, and it's getting harder by the day with societal norms the way they've become. And I don't want to get political here, but I can tell you locally, throughout Rockingham County, our law enforcement does a fantastic job, all the way from the elected sheriff, Mr. Page, to Clint Simpson here in Eden. Ray Gibson over in Reedsville, Mr. Moore over in Stoneville. I know I'm missing some folks, but we have some excellent leaders in law enforcement.
We certainly do, yeah. Okay, and I was, since we're talking about swatting and trends and things like that, where we're going, what about some cases since you started practicing in Eden now and now in Madison that you've seen maybe that have increased over the years?
Well, I think I mentioned in a prior podcast, a lot of things are cyclical. Real estate has been booming for the last couple of years. I read an article the other day about bankruptcy. I think the bankruptcy filings in federal court have increased over the last quarter more than they have since 2008, if I'm correct in what I read. So I think that's something that's going to occur more over the next 18 months. And, I think COVID hurt us to some extent with the money that was being pumped into the communities. It has now stopped. A lot of people were spending excessive money, in my opinion, and real estate has just been booming. And at some point, I think it's going to come full circle, and I think we're looking at that in the next 12 months. And hopefully it's not going to be too bad, but I do think bankruptcy is probably something that's going to be increasing over the next 12 to 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did a podcast last week with the director of Rockingham County Teen Court, doing some really good work.
They are. So I had a meeting last week with Jason Ramey, our elected DA, and he, it's my understanding, actually speaking to you earlier, Teen Court in Rockingham County was instituted about 30 years ago. Mr. Ramey has taken an initiative to really start trying to push Teen Court, and it's really a great deferment process for teens who have gotten into nominal trouble, whether or not it's a speeding ticket or some type of driving citation or some just behavioral issues. And it keeps them out of teen court, or out of juvenile court, and they're basically assessed by their peers, and the peers will hear what has happened and make a decision as to what type of recourse should happen. And if the kids do it, then they stay out of juvenile court. So in speaking with Mr. Ramey, I don't do a lot of juvenile cases, but I try to keep up with what's going on. And Mr. Ramey's told me that it's really, he's happy with the results they're seeing.
Oh, good. Okay, very good. Good work for sure. Well, we are doing this podcast in the 9 o'clock hour here on Monday, and court at 10, and this is a big day.
Yeah, so every Monday's a big day. We've got some news within our office. Matt Warman, who has been an intern with us for probably a year or a little more, he has passed the bar, gotten his license in the mail last week from the state bar. He's being sworn in today in Superior Court.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah, so we've got just a short period of time, and he will be sworn in, and he'll be one of the newest attorneys will be the newest attorney with our offices.
Okay, so looking at the clock, you need to get to court.
Well, it's not too much longer. I do need to get there.
Okay, just one closing thing here. Someone needs more information on estate planning or any of the areas that you can help them in. What's the best way to get to you?
Best way to reach me is to make an appointment and sit down with me. We get significant numbers of calls each day, so making an appointment is the best way to make sure that we devote the appropriate time to you. Our Eden office is 336-623-3138. Our Madison office is 336-548-2309. Whichever office is more convenient. If they want to meet with me personally, they would need to come to the Eden office. I'm there 99% of the time. But call either of the offices, set appointments, and one of the attorneys or myself will be glad to sit down and try to create a comprehensive estate plan that will protect them and their family.
My wife Annette and I were in recently. You helped us with a situation. Thank you for that. We appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to help.
Okay. All right. In our studios today, Seth Woodall, again, giving that contact information. Seth M. Woodall and Associates, law firm on Fag Drive in Eden and East Murphy Street in Madison. You can go to his Facebook page, his website for more information.